All right. My mic should be on. Let me know if you don't hear me. All right. So there were a couple things I was going to try to do. I'm not sure what particular order I want to do this, but going to, let's see. I think we want to retopologize her sweater. I kind of did it with the boots here, but we can clean that up too. One thing I did was I made this new body mesh, so I could basically just take parts of it and and then use as the base for the retopology. But this part around the hands is messed up. Let me try to clean this up. Let's think about how I want to do this. Yeah, just delete. I'll just do this all over again. Hey, Happy New Year as well. Thanks for joining the stream. I know this is just like really unplanned, but I just wanted to, it's working anyway. I thought about doing this. Okay, so I've reinstalled Blender. I gotta redo my quick favorites here. I think sign shortcut was W. Yep, and then there we go. That should work. Do something like that. Okay. This here. Cleaner. Okay, so this has 40, this has 28. Okay. So this is a little bit high. That's alright. Actually, let me see something real quick. I think okay, yeah, that's this is okay, I see. So one's the subdivision, this one's not. Alright, this one's, yeah, there we go. This is the one I want to edit. Okay, let's start with this. I'm going to do this. Okay. So this hand is yeah, are you able to hear me? I don't have my camera on. I was kind of hoping I could use this as footage for a video if I get certain clips, so I just didn't want the camera to get in the way. Let's see, 20 and 14, okay. So I think about how to join these together. So a little while ago I tried to redo this hand, and I did it in the position of the meta rig. So let's see. So the meta rig, if you use Rigify's meta rig, it kind of has the A pose like this. I wanted to try to keep my character's pose that more consistent, so I based it off of that. So I also looked at how the hands were done too. I had to make the hands a bit smaller. These are very large. So that's why I did it that way. So I tried to remodel the hand. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. So I'm going to try to think about how I want to connect this here. Alright, so the problem here is that this edge loop here has 14 vertices, but the one in the hand has 20. So there's 6 vertices that we have to account for. Another thing to note too is that since this is a game model, we don't have to worry too much about triangles, but it will affect how we can make the it will affect how we can make the sorry, drawing a blank. How the joint will bend and stuff like that. So typically don't want the triangles to collapse on each other, but I think if it's close enough it won't be a big deal. So what I'll do is actually instead I'll extrude this one out. We can make an extra loop like this, and we can try to collapse this down to 14. So like you can see here, like we could connect these. So maybe we'll just connect these. Do the same thing here. And these will connect fine for the most part. But here is where it gets a little bit more tricky. So around the area where the extra loops were added on the hand to account for the geometry that the fingers need. Here you can see. So we could try accounting for that. So one problem we're going to see here is like we connect that, it's an end gone, we don't want that. What I want to try to do So we'll try to connect these. So it's basically a 2 to 1 here. Let me pull up a diagram here. Give me one sec. Actually, I have it in my notes. Maybe I'll just pull this up here. Let's see. You can kind of see there's a 1 to 2 kind of thing here. I also tried to flip these just to get a better view. What we want, I think, is something like this one right here. This, you can kind of see. I wish I had a little bit of a pointer or something here. But yeah, so we could use these 3 and kind of collapse it into 2, for example. Let's take another look here. I'm just going to put this aside. So it's essentially saying something like this, I think. Not quite. Okay. You know what? Because all these diagrams are kind of made with the assumption. Here's what I'll do. I will actually make this a triangle. It is a game model. I'm not too worried about the triangles. But what we'll do to kind of, we'll move this at the end to consolidate it. Okay. I'm gonna keep this a little bit more even. Yeah. Okay, so this one also is kind of the same deal. This becomes a triangle too. So we can at least kind of keep also, I'm going to hide the meta rig. And then we have quite a combination here too. So we have these. Another option we can use is to go lower on the hand and try to reduce the poly count from that side. Let's come back to that. First, I'm going to do this. Just make a few triangles here to keep it going for now. Okay, and then this one connects here. It's fairly normal. Okay. It's fairly normal too, a little bit. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 here and 2 here. So kind of connects the same way, I would imagine. Okay, then do so like this is what this looks like. So at least the triangulation's a little bit more even. One thing I could try to do is kind of instead of kind of have it all collapsed here, I'm going to use this as a guide to reduce the geometry on the hand itself or the one below it here. So like what this kind of accomplishes, something like this. And then I can do something like, let's see. Oh, whoops. Keep this going. Going to, yeah, same thing here. If I really wanted to, I could just slide these, make them a little bit more even. And same thing here. Ain't pretty, but so now we've moved all the triangles down. I could slide these a bit more like this. We'll smooth this out a little bit. So it's going to make it hard to get the edge loop here, but it's actually not too bad. You just put on X-ray and just select all the verts. I'm going to slide this down. I'm just going to kind of also adjust the shape of the hand too. Rotate this a little bit. Okay, so this was supposed to be done over the top of a arm sculpt here. Yeah, but this was also not really, I'm okay with the shape of this. I could increase it a little bit too if I want to. I'm also going to add one more joint here. So where the meta rig will bend. So it bends right here. Let me just slide this down a tiny bit. Maybe I'll just do it like this. Scale a tiny bit. And then I can take the part that we just did. Move it a little bit closer down. Doesn't have to be perfectly even. I'm just kind of OCD about it, but it doesn't have to be. Okay. Okay, so that's the body retopology. So what I want to do is take this, remove this. Okay, so this does have a shrink wrap on it. I could apply that. Oh, yeah. Actually, just do. Okay. So what I want to do, if I kill the subdivision, what does that look like? Yeah, that's good. Actually, you know, here's how I'll do this. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Then I'm going to just apply all these, and then we can remove the. This was this other. Delete that one. So we have this now. So this is a retopology that I did a little bit earlier. I did not bother with the feet at all, really, because she's going to be wearing boots, so I'm not to worry about that. Okay, so what I want to do real quick is kind of correct this bit here. We can kind of see. Oops. Remember that we also have all these edges here we made. That's decent. Something like that, which would be good. Okay, and then let's see. So actually, the way I do the UVs right now is just very straightforward way. I've just put them in a color atlas. Okay, and this needs to be shade smooth. Okay. So if we look at this now, the body itself has about 2,500 verts, which is pretty good for a game model, but you can see that it's also very jagged still. But this is also only the body, so parts of it will be removed anyway, so we won't be using the whole thing. This is just really as a base. But I think the way I'm going to kind of do this is I'm going to just add a subdivision surface on top of it. Actually, and that should clean it up a lot. Yeah, see, that looks a lot better. So now this becomes basically, so this body becomes 10,000 polygons because subdivision multiplies it by 4. So that's a little high, but the target polygon count for this character actually, or really for the main characters in my game. Also, she needs her shirt back on. Here we go. I'm thinking I could go a little bit higher. It is an RPG. There won't be a whole lot of things going on in a scene at once, but what I do want to have is I want to have the ability to make a version of the model without the subdivision and with the subdivisions. With one subdivision, so I could have potentially a higher poly count one that's like there for like cutscenes or any place where like you might see her up close, and then the ones where you don't see her up close can be used for like combat or something along those lines. That being said, I could get away with the total being somewhere around potentially like 35 to 50k vertices. One problem we'll run into though is that with the Toon art style, if we want to make an outline using the inverted hole, which is I don't know if I have. No, nothing really here has it. Actually, I could turn it on here. So like with the head. The inverted hole also doubles the polygon count. So that's just something to keep in mind. I don't think that's going to be a huge problem. But, sorry, excuse me. But just to be clear, my original model had a lot more than that. So part of the reason I'm redoing this, besides some of the minor design changes, is to reduce the polygon count. Let me see if I could load the original. So the original has, okay, so this isn't as bad as I thought. Also the colors got a little messed up, but the original here has 47 vertices, which is 92,000 triangles, because these are done in quads. Hey, welcome. Yeah, ramen, that's a good stuff. I had some yesterday. But just like the, the packaged stuff, nothing fancy. Okay, so, but like once I select this, what's up with this? Okay. It's actually strange. It's like not letting me select it here. I'm confused. Oh, here we go. As soon as I enable solidify, this doubles to 94,000 vertices, and almost 200,000 triangles. So it is pretty hefty. We'll see if we can get it a little bit lower than that in the final version. But anyway, so the number's high right now because I have this sweater I sculpted here. I didn't even retopologize it yet, so we're going to do that. Oop. Yeah, I'll hide all that stuff. Hide the head too. Keep the skirt on. So what I was going to do with the sweater stuff, I'm going to delete these. I'm going to duplicate the body here, and we're going to use this as the base for the sweater. And then I'll hide that. So I'll have to turn the mirror back on too. But yeah, I'm just going to cut basically down up. Anything that's not really in the sweater. What do you know about the rigging tools in the Diffeomorphic add-on? I'm not familiar with that add-on. Unfortunately, I can't really say a whole lot because I don't know what that add-on is. I wish I could tell you. I'm sorry, apologies for that. Let me delete these. Just kill the hand. Oop, still some polygons here. Okay, and then so what I'll do is I'll just put the mirror on. And it will just axe this whole left side. And can just do that. All right, so we got the basis for like what our retopology for the sweater will be. So do a couple things. So the sweater does have some wrinkles and stuff on it. I don't particularly care to use a normal map. I know characters in like Toon Styles games, they don't actually use normal maps. At least like Genshin Impact doesn't do it, because I've looked at the 3D models for that. So I don't know if I necessarily need to do a normal map. And that also saves me some time too. But that does mean I'd have to probably add that detail elsewhere, either like through the geometry or paint it on or something like that. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But anyway, so what I wanted to do with this was I wanted to turn on snapping. We'll do face nearest. Snap same target. Yep. We're just going to go ahead and snap them to the sweater here. So how old are you, and since how long have you been rocking with Blender? It's a good question. So I'm 30 years old, actually just about to turn 31 in a couple weeks. I've been doing Blender since around 2020. The original idea was I wanted to learn it to work on a game I wanted to make. I did toy with it prior to that, but I was in the versions prior to 2.8, and I really did not like 2.7 and lower. I just couldn't grasp it. But when the newer version of Blender came out and the pandemic happened, I was able to put some more time into it, and I ended up getting used to it. Really just kind of some persistence. Also, it didn't hurt that a YouTuber by the name of Royal Skies came out around that time. He did a lot of Blender tutorials. They're very quick ones. And that really helped me get, much more used to Blender. So a lot of thanks to him too. So that's kind of a little bit about how I got into it. Okay. Oh. Okay, so one thing that's a little tricky to do sometimes here is if you do this face nearest, it doesn't always snap the way you like it to. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. The character is going to be a much more simplistic art style. I don't know how to do realism, and nor am I like really professional art. There's so many better artists out there, but I'm going to try to do something that still looks decent. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead. We can mess with this as well. With retopology, you could also do sweater. So you could do it like this. You can kind of see that helps too. So like when you do retopology of Blender, you can turn on the shrink wrap modifier while you do it. Oh, so I want to do outside surface here. don't necessarily have to either. You can also just snap it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's my philosophy on the whole thing is like I probably will eventually get some outside help with my game, but like if I can at least do some of the like core character designs myself, I would be pretty happy with that. I also view art styles as like working within your own limitations as an artist too. Like I think it would be nicer to try to build a game using an art style I'm able to feasibly do as well. And plus I like the toon style a lot, so it's something that I appreciate. I don't think like trying to, and in some ways I've choose the art style for the game rather than game for the art style or whatever. It's kind of the idea. I don't think just be like, oh, let's make the game a realistic style or whatever is always like the best idea either, unless it's like something you're able to achieve. Okay. So one issue with doing a shrink wrap like this is that the model underneath it isn't actually like, so you can see. And then using the face near snapping I do like, but it's doesn't always quite get where you want it to go. But I could use that as a start, and then oops, can I go like this? The other problem here is that with the mirror modifier, let's see, I want to clip this, so let's clip it. Kind of do something along these lines. Another problem is I go pretty slow because I get OCD about all the points, but you don't really want to do that. Where's this going? What the heck? Alright, here we go. No. There we go. Actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. I can smooth this too. So actually what I think I'm going to try here, okay, throw it clipped. This is, okay, so if I do the shrink wrap here and I look at the weight, this does a pretty good job actually. You can kind of see. I'm actually going to consolidate some of the topology around the breast area as well, because I don't think it needs all of this. So I think if I kind of move it like this, then we can do just like kind of just go like that. I think this will resolve. Yep. There we go. Just because of the type of fabric she's wearing, she doesn't really need that cleavage, if I want to be specific. Alright. Okay. The rest of this looks pretty good though. I'd say see if I can like apply the shrink wrap modifier or something here. Let's see. Okay, just like that. So if I click apply, okay, what happens if I click apply here? Okay, so it won't, that's cool though, but what this does do is it does make this a bit easier to use the snapping for now. I can update this. From the previous model, let's go back and talk about it a little bit. So don't mind the color change on our outfit. It was just kind of more playing around with some colors. Don't worry about that. Anyway, so one of the issues is the poly count. So with the outline on, or actually let's just turn it off. The outline off, she has 47,000 vertices, which honestly I don't think is terrible per se. However, if you look at the triangle count, it's 92,000. I think we can do a bit better than that. Give me one sec. I don't have it on me right now, but what I did was I looked at MiHoYo puts out some of their 3D models for Genshin Impact, so I studied one of them. And you can see that like they're able to get it to somewhere around 30,000 triangles with like a 20,000 vertex count. I don't particularly care too much, but I think that if I can optimize the topology a little bit and the poly count, it will be better. Because what I do have is a bit high. And I try to break down the kind of like where some of the vertices are placed. That being said, I do also want to try to get an optimized count while also preserving the smooth shading on the model. I've also made some minor proportional tweaks as well. I do want to mess with her face a little bit because it's still a little bit off. And then there's also just a couple of minor design changes that I'm making while I'm at it. So we'll look at the end. Hopefully with the topology changes and stuff, I can make this a little bit nicer. So I think I could remove this here. These I can combine. There we go. Don't have to worry about the exact layout. So there are ways like I could say like I could actually dissolve a little bit on the back and use the back here because you don't need as much geometry on parts that you're not really going to see that much, and the back's fairly flat too, so you don't need. Yeah, you have ADHD. How do you keep motivated? Continue working on projects? You know, I'm right there with you. You know, I was actually off for 2 years. I used to work as a software engineer, and I'm actually just about to go back to work, probably near the end of the month. But I had a lot of trouble. One of the biggest issues was the fact that when I'd work on something like this, I do enjoy it, but it takes a long time to see results, especially when it doesn't look quite how you want it to look, and it's very demoralizing. So sometimes I just have trouble even like being able to focus on it in the first place. On top of that, I had also some sleep issues and other mental health issues I had to deal with, so the combination of all those things just made it almost impossible to work on anything. One of the best things I guess you can do is if you can find tasks that are quick and rewarding to do those and focus on those, that's one way you can continue to make progress. So I found that kind of, even though I didn't do much on my game as I would have liked to have done, I found that doing work on this YouTube channel was something that I was able to manage somewhat, because making shorts only took me about 3 hours a piece, and it was just a very easy, rewarding task to do. Something that kept me motivated this whole time. Yeah. At the end of the day, I wish I could have done more, but the reality is that sometimes we just have these issues that may seem insurmountable, but it's nothing wrong with you. It's not a fault on you or your character as a person. Mental issues are just like any, physical or any disorder. It's learning how to deal with it is a challenge in its own, but you'll get there. Sometimes we just have to adapt our situation, and eventually we'll find something that works. Yeah, anyway, I wanted to do okay. As far as other topology things go here, okay, I don't know if I want to be pushing and pulling points too much more here. Let's take a look at this. So this is so this has a total of 3,000 with the subdivision on. If I turn it off, this has less than 1,000. So it's not a lot, and it's not too bad. You can see here though one of the challenges I have, and the reason why my other model has a lot of vertices in general is because you could see how this looks kind of blocky, the shadow here. Adding subdivisions helps that. Clean that up, but it makes your poly count like ridiculous. Thanks. Sweater. Let me bring the sweater back. Thank you for that. So it's a bit of a challenge. One of my thoughts here is actually two things. So the approach I'm going to use is I'm going to kind of keep it fairly low poly as much as possible to begin with, but then I'm going to slowly add more detail to it while kind of being mindful of the poly count as we go. So for example, let's say we turn the subdivision off here, right? So it doesn't have a lot, of detail. Also, I'm going to do one thing here. If I just select this and move this to the white, you can see this is very jagged. But typically, you can get the level of detail you desire just by adding more edge loops to the model as you work on it. So what I'm going to basically try to do is go in after this main work is done and just add like extra edge loops manually to add that additional detail. Changing the normals, it's a bit hard because normals are still driven by the number of faces that you have in the vertices. So you could probably do a little bit of that stuff. Also, the edge flow does affect the way the shading looks too. One thing you can do, if I turn this off here, is I can smooth the normals a little bit, and that will have an effect somewhat. But even then, it just affects the but it doesn't always get the desired result either. So we go to mesh normals. Let's do add that, reset vectors at that. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. I know other like NPR type developers, non-photorealistic, I mean, there are like other strategies, but I feel like they're far too complicated for what I want to achieve, and I just don't want to spend all that time researching and implementing something like that. So I think just kind of getting a balance for the poly counts, even if it means I have to make a low poly and a high poly version of the model, I think it would just be fine. Would your game engine have more shadow smoothing options? So I'm using Godot. May as well just open the game while I'm here. It's not much in the game right now, but I did get a little bit of work done on it. So Godot does have some. So like this is the old model and how that looks in the game engine. I think another issue is just I have to make the shader better, and I think if I can get the lighting right, it will make it look a lot better. So that's something that I want to work on at some point, but I don't. For Toon Styles, I'm not sure exactly how I want to get the lighting to work, because I still want the shadows to appear. But yeah, it's a little bit complicated. So I was thinking I was going to try to figure it out at some point. Oh, thank you. Yeah, she's going to get a slight design change. She's going to have like a sweater and a skirt and a longer jacket, but it's going to be mostly the same. Thank you, by the way. But to answer your question, though, Godot does offer some rendering stuff you could do. So there's an anti-aliasing settings, and the MSAA is the one that you typically would use. So MSAA is gonna it's gonna make the outlines smoother at the cost of performance. So kind of have to play around with it. There is another one. Where is it? To enable the advanced settings. Yeah, there's this scaling 3D is this other setting here. What it does is it kind of like retro scales your. Here we go. Just here it'll tell you. It's scales the 3D render buffer based on the viewport size. So what it basically does is it allows you to, at a higher value, make the model crisper at the cost of performance as well. There's a little bit of this too you could do. So yeah, so you could kind of see that if I don't have the scaling, it's still gonna be a little pixely, but if I make it to, it looks a lot sharper. None of these settings really affect the inner shadows all that much, so they get the inner shadows to look better. It's kind of just a higher poly model. Um, also, I could kind of mess around with like FSR and stuff like that here, but I'm just going to keep the settings as they are. So, also, I don't even have environment stuff yet, so at some point I also just want to get some help and do some research on making the environments look. I think once like I get some help with the lighting and stuff, it'll start to look a lot better. But the basics are there. Let's go ahead and go back to where we were. Yeah. No, that's okay because I didn't actually plan to. I didn't plan to stream. I just decided to jump on. I thought I'd try to, since I'm working on some of this stuff more, get some footage anyway. I would. I was gonna say if I could get more of a cadence of streaming, I would try to do that. But I don't know yet. It's just a little bit too much uncertainty. But I think while I'm still working on this and while I'm still off, I'm gonna try to stream every so often here. I think I'll try again tomorrow as well. But yeah, I could announce on the Discord I'm streaming. Might not be a bad idea. Anyway, so yeah, so basically what I was saying is the subdivisions do help with the shading a little bit. You can see it's still a little bit affected here. If I move this around, you could see that the shading changes. Pardon my being fresh here. So like I could probably move some of these points, change the direction the shadow is going. Yes, I do have a Discord. You should find it in my channel description. If not, I'll just drop the link here. Actually, I'll just drop the link here. Yes, I do have a Discord server. So anyway, so it's another way is like you could adjust the normals to like kind of fit that as well. So like if I were to do something like this and like merge these, it would change. See, it changes how the shading looks there, and I know it's on the breast. I'm sorry about that. So it's like one thing I could do. Let me try this. See, but so I'd have to like, even though this is not necessarily ideal topology here, it's probably what I'll end up going with, just because the shading looks more appealing than the other option I had. So anyway, back to where we were. So we get this. So we got the sculpted version and the retopologized version. So one option here is you could also just bake a normal map. But to do that, I'd have to basically do all the UV unwrapping and stuff. I'm going to do some UV unwrapping anyway because I really kind of just want to learn more how to do it. But I don't know if a normal map might be overkill. But this does look kind of cool. Anyway, here's what we'll do then, is we'll work on some other parts. So like we get the skirt here, the sweater here. I'll just put like the retopologized versions here, even though they're simpler. Another option I also considered is painting some shadows in just kind of like on the texture. That might help too. Alright, so I'm going to add gravity here too. So the boots part, so it's not actually going to be her bare legs. I'm going to actually remove some of this. Maybe. Actually, give me a sec. Thinking about, alright. Well, I bring the body back, right? What is this one? It's supposed to be this one. Okay. Okay, so this doesn't line up with the body 100%. But I could just move the boots. It's not too big of a deal. One other thing though is I'll have to, the legs will have to go up a little bit higher too. Here's what I'll do. So we'll just do the body again here. Oops, turn snapping off. And then with this version, I'm going to hide this. I want to remove everything at the top here. Should I everything up here? Keep this part here. Oops. I can remove it as needed. Oops. Okay, why are you not selecting what I want you to select? Here we go. Okay, so it's the leg part. I think this is also mirrored too. But just to be safe, I'll go ahead and I'll reapply the mirror modifier. Okay, do that. I can do mirror. Let me hide this real quick. Okay, yeah, that's why. Okay, we're good then. Okay, we'll keep it like that. And then with the boots, I'm going to remove all of this. So what we're left with is something along these lines. Let me use sculpt mode here, and I can just move this to match a little bit more. This part's good. Okay, so that'll help close that off a little bit. And I can use the inflate tool to just patch up the holes. Hey, welcome. Thank you for joining. And I I appreciate hearing that you enjoy my work. If you've got some questions, feel free to ask them. I've been answering questions here on stream, so no problem there. Okay, so we're going to do this. So this here is mirrored. This is also mirrored. I'm going to Control J this. And then we're going to remove okay, I'm struggling with attaching accessories to my characters once it's rigged. How is the less painful way to achieve that? So I guess it kind of depends exactly what you want the accessory to do. Let's go back to the old model for a sec. So we can look at this little bow here as I put connected to the armature. Let me try to set up and see if I could set this up fast enough. If I make this deform bones, right, and I go, I'm just going to separate the bow off of the character here so you can see this. So if I select the rig and then the bow and I go to weight paint mode, what I did do is that the bow itself also has a rig of its own, in a sense. But however, the way this would be kind of attached is through the bone's parent. So this bone right here, how do I select the bone again? I'm trying to think how I forget the hotkey for it. But if I were to select the bone, I think Blender changed the hotkey for it anyway, but I'm just going to select the bone here. There's this bone right here. It's rigged here, but if you go to edit mode on the rig here real quick, this bow bone will be attached to a part of the main body. So the way I like to do this personally is when you build your rig, you could make a duplicate of your rig, like, and then you can use, just so in case you need to go back to it. And then what I like to do is while I'm rigging, so there's no other bone influence anywhere else, is separate like the parts of the rig that you want to attach. So like it would be these bow bones right here. So let's say like these 10 bones or so, and then only the bow object. And then I would go it's giving me a little trouble here, but anyway, the idea is here is that way anything that I don't want to be rigged to the bow bone, I will just make sure it's separated. Then I'll go ahead and do actually, here we go. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that, so like the body itself and all of that stuff is separated from the bone, or from the, so like I can hide that. And if I really want to, I can go on the rig. Yeah, so there's deform bones and ITD bones. The ITD is generated from the XPKit thing. Don't worry about that. But what I would do is basically I'd say, okay, I'm going to take all these bones that go to the bow only. I accidentally selected this one. And then I would separate them. And then I would do the weight painting here. Like I would select the okay, now it's like, and I would weight paint them individually. And then what I can do once that's done is that ensures that the bow is only rigged to these bones. Then I can just take this part of the rig and then the armature itself and join them back together, and then I can make sure to reparent the bone where it's supposed to go, something like that. That's the way I like to do it. I even go as far as doing the, rather than using the parent to automatic weights, I don't usually like using this option, because what happens is then two problems. One is sometimes it can't weight paint certain parts of your model if there's open, holes. But also sometimes it will try to automatically weight paint some accessories and stuff to bones that aren't even relevant, like maybe like this bottom leg here. So like the bone doesn't need to be weight painted to the legs. It just needs to be parented to the waist, and it would be perfectly fine. So instead, I usually just like to go to the weight paint mode and do the assign automatic from bones instead, and just iterate through each bone. It's tedious, but it ensures that you weight paint only the parts that need the weights on the bones. So I like doing it that way. So that's just like an option there. Okay, and then yeah, if you have questions on 3D models you want to put in Discord, feel free. I should be back on there later tonight. So I'll take a look at it. Also, yeah, you got the right idea. Just weight paint stuff separately, and then make sure the bones are reparented once you join them back. Personally, what I like to do is, if you're using Rigify, you could separate and delete all the bones you want off the armature, because then you can just regenerate the rig again once you're done. So you don't really even need to duplicate it. So like I could do whatever I want with this, and just, and then I can just go to the meta rig and regenerate it, and then it's back together again. Something got a little weird. That's okay. Yeah, I know what these bones are. Okay, so as far as it's like skin tight clothing, yeah, you can do that as well. You can transfer the weights if they're close enough to the body's weights. You can transfer them. It won't be it'll have to be a case by case basis. You'd have to know like what to do in certain cases. Okay, so the red thing that wraps around her body. Okay, let's bring that up. So this thing here, I just rigged it as normal, basically. But same kind of, where are we? I did also just separate this, and then the way I rigged this one is I I did separate it, but I also just rigged it only to like a couple of bones around here, so like basically all these ones. And I did it the same way. In this case, you could also just rig the body and then transfer the weights to it, and that should also work just fine. One thing I would say though is if you do have skin tight clothing, you could just remove the body underneath it. Like if you're making a model for a game, you don't want to have the body and the clothing if the clothing's covering it. Unless you have a very specific case in your game where you want to have like customization or something. Removing the geometry underneath that's not being shown is just a good way to optimize. So that's something you could do too. But yeah, you can do... But yeah, if you're doing like character customization, you still probably want to have the base body available in the game. It depends. I'm not really doing that with my game. I think that's just out of scope. It would be cool though to have like separate output options, but I just don't think I'm going to get around to it. Yeah, no problem. I hope that helps. I'm going to revert this file here back to where we were. Okay, so I was looking at boots. So since these are pants, thinking something like that. Okay. Cool. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some like laces in here. We'll get back to that though. So now if we put this back together, this does have a mirror and a subdivision on it. Put together with the skirt and the sweater. Let's call these boots. So we're actually not like too far off at this point. We have pretty decent. I'll have to kind of redo the belt a little bit here. Like this scarf. I'm just going to kind of assemble the pieces as they currently are. And then I gotta just grab her hands real quick, so let's do that. She also does not have a jacket, so let me get... do something like that. Shift D, separate it. Okay. This also has a mirror on it. You saw a mirror subdivision. Okay, this doesn't. This is not mirrored, but it's whatever. I will mirror it. Let's just take care of that real quick. Can't see too well, but sorry. So you can see that, so if we look at So you can see here that the poly counts are similar. So I'm gonna have to see if I can lower it at all. But this also is with subdivisions on, so I could probably even lower that. So like if I turn all the subdivisions off, it's very blocky, but this version without the subdivisions is 67,000, and that's also because the face also has a lot. See, the face has too many, so yeah. Okay, catching up on comments here. Okay. So can we just shrink? Okay, let's see. Let's do that. All right. Even if you do have customization, generally you hide the parts of the model that aren't visible. Yeah. Now, I guess you would separate them or something in the game engine, so you could just like toggle the visibility off. Wish you could make player models. You certainly can. Unfortunately, every discipline always just takes time and practice, but you could get there if it's something you really want to do. I don't think this is something that is gatekept by like skill, really anything. Just like any sort of discipline is like you practice, you learn it, you'll be able to get it. You don't have to be talented at art. I'm not talented at art. I'm a programmer, so like, and I could still kind of do this stuff. I just approach it a lot more technically than artistically, but it's still you can still find a way around it. Grab her hands. Okay, well I did. That's not what I meant, but okay, that's fine. I know you're joking. Interested in the hair process. So I do have. Yeah, I do have the shorts on those. I would start with those, but I wasn't really planning to redo the hair here just because I do think it kind of came out pretty good. Also, it's a pain in the butt and I don't feel like redoing it. Yeah, just can never get done with a player model and no good tutorials. So, okay, just seeing. Yeah, I was gonna say, I hate to just sell you like, oh, go watch my content to learn stuff. But it is just a lot easier because I've already put it all together. But the way I kind of see this is, if you do watch the videos I make, I do have a couple shorts on the hair, for example. The complete character guide video also has a segment on it, so if you do watch those and you still have questions, you can certainly reach out. I like to kind of keep it somewhat open book, so don't be afraid to ask comments or anything like that if you're stuck. Try to help as much as I can. Did you leave the curved segments of the hair untouched? Something like that would take half the poly count. So this is what the poly count for the hair looks like right now. It is a bit high. The biggest problem is these little braids, though. I was going to take these and kind of unsubdivide them a little bit and figure that out. So that would take a lot of stuff. Also, there's a lot of topology on the head, too. Although something like the head is what I would want to keep rounder anyway. And smoother, so what I would do is probably optimize this braid. I might take a second pass and see if I can make it look like a real braid. This was just kind of a quick and dirty thing I did here. So maybe that's something I can do. Also, these got messed up. Smooth. There we go. That's fixed. So yeah, that's something I would clean up here too. So if we look at, let's say like I removed all the facial parts, right? Just the eyes, separated that, right? Remove the wings as well. The hair itself is, yeah, it's 14,000 vertices alone. But if I were to take just a braid part, right, and separate that, the braid itself is 7,000. See, like that's pretty ridiculous, right? So, so I'm gonna hide that. Now, if you look at this, this is now down to 53K triangles, but this also lacks subdivision. So if I were to turn the subdivisions back on, say on the hands, for example, so now it's 75K, which is still considerably better. And then I'm also going to have to retopologize the face a little bit too, so I'm going to adjust her face a bit and try to fix the lips and the nose areas too. So, and that's all said and done, this might actually turn out considerably less. So the face itself is 7,000 as well. Let's go ahead and look at the Genshin Impact metrics here. So the head itself, we're looking somewhere around 2,000 potentially. So this is way more than that. So that's like something we could look at doing. The hair is 2,500 vertices, which this is also a bit high. Can probably make a couple of tweaks. Like I could probably dissolve some of the edges in here, or maybe like on the outsides too, or the insides. So some thoughts there. And of course there's like, you know, areas right here too. Like the body itself is actually pretty good. This is like 4,000 right now. She's also going to be wearing a jacket, so I have to cut some of the sleeves off too. Body, we have something to work with here. The arms and the legs. So the legs here are also probably a little bit on the higher side because I have the boots. And I think I forgot to remove. Yeah. So if I hide that for a second, I can remove all this. You can see that will clean up a lot of it too. So now the legs are down to, let's see, multiply that by 2 and then 4, so multiply that by 8. Right, so that's about 4,000-ish as well. So the legs are a little high too, but that's also because there's the boots. I'm okay with it being a little bit higher. I don't need to squeeze every polygon out of the character, but we do want to try to optimize a little more than it was. Let's see. So let's see. You could just yeah, so let's see. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, this did take a lot of effort to actually make it look good. I have a lot of trashed ones that aren't good. Alternatively, you cannot make them or use the feet mesh. Yeah, that's the idea, is that like for the hands and the feet, I am just going to basically copy these over to every other character model I'm going to use. I am not going to redo the hands. Unless it's something like a character has longer fingers or has some sort of proportional difference in their hands. I am basically going to just reuse these hands on everything. Because I am not doing them again. Could take the chance to redo... Yeah. Also, how close is the model on the player camera in the game anyway? You could just have a lot less geometry and switch to normal model for cutscenes. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking... thinking I'd probably do is have a version where the subdivisions are turned off. Something like this, right? And this would have like... This would be like more appropriate for like in-game. So like if you're running... Actually, I may as well just show you the... So this is kind of how the character looks in combat right now. I do plan on eventually having like super moves, so like there'll be like a cutscene. I'll probably zoom in on their face a little bit. But for the most part, it's going to look like this. And you really can't tell the braids any different. See, like you don't really see anything. Godot actually does have a built-in LOD mechanism that does reduce the poly count dynamically the further away models are. It's pretty hard to tell, but it is there, and that does help. So I do want to leverage that as well. Is that James Bond level Genshin Impact model analysis on a Discord server? No, but I could put it there. I have the MiHoYo based models. I actually have them too. I appreciate it though. Does Godot not have sub-D built in? I know you like to turn them on and off in real time. Subdivision, no, but it does have LOD. They added it in version 4.0. So that will help with the runtime aspect of the game too. And you could configure it somewhat. Anyway, where are we? Yeah, I'd say redo the braids. Might be able to do something in sculpt mode. Still trying to... One of the issues I have is that when I look at like a picture, like of a braid, for example, I have trouble visualizing that and applying it. So it doesn't end up looking quite as nice. But I can just take another stab at it and see if I can like... Maybe what I'll do is like go in sculpt mode, make a couple tubes and like try to thread them together. Maybe something like that will work. Okay, anyway. Yep, let's see. Oh, excuse me. That's actually the braid I did originally. I did this with a combination of the curve modifier and the mirror modifier. It's just that they're blocks, so they're not really a braid. I just have to kind of make it look more like a braid and have less geometry as well. But I'll hide it for now. Yeah, I could probably figure something out. Okay, where do I want to continue? So if we look at the unsubdivided version, so the shading is a little goofy. And then we got this belt here. I'm just gonna leave it as is. The bow doesn't look very good either, but it's okay. Let's work on the jacket too. So I do have somewhere in here. So this was the original jacket. Okay, this was like sculpted and stuff. So that's what I'll do. Let me hide that, and then I'm going to just go ahead and try to retrofit this to, and then we could retopologize it. Use the pose tool. Put it like that. Okay, now I can kind of, that's better. And I can move this a little bit. Trying to make it flush here. One challenge here is that I don't want the jacket to intersect with the bow too much. You can see here it's doing that. I might have to move the bow to the center, but I do think it's more appealing if it's a little off to the side. Let's do something like this. Hide the head real quick. The hair works. That works. Yeah. Do something like this. Yeah. Let's see. And basically the goal here is I want to make sure the jacket's not intersecting with the model here. So give it a little bit of space. You can use the inflate brush to kind of hit it before it connects, so like we can see it. Okay. Here's also got to have the jacket a bit more flush with her torso here, something like this. Actually, I'll just pull it until it connects. Here we go. We can fix it. There we go. Then I can do just a couple tiny pokes here. That's what we get. Okay, and then another thing I'm going to do is a little more space here. Okay. Gotta get up here too. Users only accepting DMs from friends. Do you mean me? I'm not huge on DMs because I did have an incident years ago where I just didn't where I don't appreciate that, but if you do really want to reach out, that's not a problem. I've had a couple people reach, let's see, here, we'll go ahead and accept the let's see. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this down to make that kind of cooler. Okay, and then okay, one other thing I like to do here. It's starting to solidify off first of all. If I do make the jacket display as wire, I can see where the shape might have gone a little wrong. Say I'm going to try to have it rest on the arm a bit more, like that, and we can pull this up here. That's better. Follow the shoulder better. So you can see that it's a little better. And then parts where it's a little bit just fix the parts where it's clipped a little bit. There we go. So that should look a lot better now. Let me go ahead and put some other part. Yeah, there we go. Here. Yeah, I find that in kind of in a similar position sometimes where like when I've made this character, I've made like 2 other attempts at it and they were just awful. So I did end up putting something together I was somewhat happy with, so but yeah, it does just feel that way sometimes with anything artistic related. That's not as much of a problem with programming, which is probably why I'm a programmer. But but with art, it's but after some time, you get better at it. I think another thing that's a little bit underrated, and it's pretty scary to do, especially when you're beginning, is getting like actual feedback and putting your work out there. Like I was like pretty scared to actually like put my work out there, like when I started making YouTube videos. I ended up doing it because I had a lot of things I wanted to share. as far as information. I wanted to share some of the stuff I learned while picking up Blender and all that stuff. So ultimately ended up doing it. But like over time, like just having other people see your work, even if you don't feel like it's very good, excuse me, can help too. It gives you a little bit of validation, like, oh, this is actually not that terrible. That being said, is like you do want to be a little careful about who you're getting your feedback from. I think the best way to do that is to also present your skill level. So if you're posting art online and you say I'm a beginner, that will help. That will help with people who are giving feedback, give you more constructive yet like good feedback rather than just saying like your art sucks or something mean, right? If you're able to position the feedback properly, more targeted, more yeah, it's now I hear you. It's tough because people on the internet don't know each other, so they just kind of are rude, and they do that because they can get away with it. But it's just, it doesn't really add anything to the equation. That's why I like to say, like, if you can, just say, like, I really want to learn, but I'm starting out. I don't know what to look for. Why, that kind of stuff. That being said, I'm happy to take a look at your work, if that's something you want me to do. And I promise I won't bite. I'm not a professional artist, so I can't give you the best feedback, but I'll certainly take a look if that's something if you want to do. But yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, and something I was kind of scared to do. Let's see. Where are we? Okay, so yeah, I should have it in the chat here. There's a link to it, the Discord server. If not, you can also find it on my channel page on YouTube. There's a Discord there. Yeah, I hope to keep it, a pretty civil, nice place for people. Alright. Okay, this jacket is surprisingly not as many polygons as I expected it to be, but this topology is garbage. Alright, so we'll fix that in a minute here. So here's what we'll do. So we do want to retopologize the jacket, so we'll do that. Real quick, let me grab the body. Let's hide everything but the jacket here and the body. Now I need to duplicate this, and then this will just be called jacket, and then what I need to do is delete everything that is on that side, right? We get something kind of along these lines here. Okay. Yeah, I think I could just axe this. I could fix the topology part right there. Anyway, yeah, so I want to remove this. I got to remove the hand too. Okay. And then what I can do is I can just do mirror. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's yeah, it's like, yeah, you see all these great artists online, but you don't realize how much they failed to get there. And it's probably because they've been doing it for so freaking long too. Like, eventually they just got good because they did a lot of that stuff for so long, or they may have had formal training. I think one thing that I've kind of learned being on the platform is that people over embellish their abilities and their experiences, but they do that because that's what the platform expects, right? Clickbait. So it's so naturally it makes it sound like they've done this insane feat, but the reality is that's not really true. You have to also realize too that everyone learns at a different pace. I've gotten discouraged many times because I feel like I've been slower than people who've started and have spent less time. But the reality is that doing this task is not the only thing you're doing in your life. There's a lot of other things going on in people's lives. And you may have some challenges like ADHD or something like that that hold you back from realizing your whole potential. So it's really not healthy to think about improvement as comparing to other people. That only really benefits people who do better than others, comparatively speaking. But the reality is just that you do the best you can with what you got. And eventually you'll get to a point where you're happy with what you're able to accomplish. It's tough to make that mentality shift because I too am still working on that. But it is just trying to compare yourself to other people is just not healthy if you can avoid doing so. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, even the pros are going to mess up sometimes too. One of the most satisfying things is like with, I mean, I like golf, but like when you watch a pro golfer make a really bad shot, it's just hilarious. um, yeah, it's unfortunately in the realm of clickbait, a lot of things get lost. Um, but it's also kind of hard to blame people for doing it because that's just how they make their living. Anyway, what am I doing here? Hold on, UV editing. Okay, let's go back to here. Retopology mode. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and try to fit this arm here. Something like that. And there's obviously this. This is not great. That's okay. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna try to snap this whole thing. There we go. So that's like kind of useful. Let me fix some of the topology issues here. Okay, we can delete that. Delete that too. Okay. That's fine. I'm just gonna delete this. Okay. Okay, and then this is goofy right here. Yeah, let's mess with this. It's a little better. Okay, so that does get us initially pretty good. Okay, that's okay. Now I could just do extrusions. Okay, let's go a little bit messed up. That would be good. Okay, and this will need a couple more loops too. I'll just go ahead and add it. There we go. A couple more here too. Strangely enough, this doesn't. Oh, it's because. Okay, that's pretty good. Add one more here too. Okay. Good. Alright, so let's bring everything back. So that's what that looks like. Let's go ahead and do. Okay, so it's not terrible. It's coming along. We're looking at 50K triangles as opposed to 90K, so that's significantly better. Okay, but that's still with the subdivision off, but that's fine. I can add a little bit more to that too. Let's see. Yeah, this is coming along. I still gotta do a face and everything too. All right, sorry. Let's see what time is it. Been here for a little while. So how long is the stream going for? Yeah, I think I was actually going to end it pretty shortly. I do want to run to the store anyway because it's supposed to snow tomorrow. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. But I do think I'm going to hop back on tomorrow. So let's see. Tomorrow, maybe later. We'll have to see. I'm not exactly sure where I want to do exactly, but so yeah. Oh, now I understand. Yeah. Well, my Discord server's only got like 45 people on it, but honestly, it's nice that it's small. I'm the only moderator on it right now, so like if it does get too much bigger, I'll have to find someone to help with moderation. Hopefully I could keep it this way for a while, but we'll have to see. So let's see. Yeah, about finding courses and stuff like that. Yeah, I personally have learned through courses as well, but it really depends. I think when you take a course, you're paying for just like more whole information, and basically you're paying for the ability to have the information more accessible. Because one of the problems you find is when you search for YouTube videos, you're going to search through a lot of videos that don't answer your questions. Courses help in a sense that all the information should be there and it's all thoroughly explained. It's really best to take a course when you're an absolute beginner, because then it can walk you through everything slowly and you have a better foundation of the basics. That being said, is once you get past that point, I don't think courses are super valuable anymore. That's where you can kind of like use resources like YouTube or like the internet in general. But I found, like, even when I started Blender, I started with a course. But what really ended up working out better was when I found an actual good YouTuber. Royal Skies was the guy, and that's how I really was able to learn Blender. But it depends. Personally, if I were to buy courses, I would wait till Udemy puts them on sale and buy them then. Don't ever buy them full price. It's not worth $100 whatever dollars that you would buy a course for. Definitely just buy them for like $15 when they go on sale, if you're going to buy them all. And I would only really do that if you're an absolute beginner, or if you absolutely like feel like you need a better grasp of the basics. But like, I can agree that YouTube is probably your best resource until then. Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I know you didn't mean my server. So okay, this is probably a pretty good stopping point. Still probably a little more optimization we can do, but this is like coming along. So pretty happy with this so far. I'm gonna have to do some stuff on the face. Maybe optimize a little bit of the hair too, but we'll get to that. Then we'll have to do some other cleanup, but it's coming along. I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate everybody who stopped by. I know I didn't plan this stream out. I just kind of wanted to hop on because I was going to work on it anyway. So it was nice to have the extra company too. So yeah, thank you all for hopping on, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. You as well.